Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Craig Burrell, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Lieutenant Commander Annette Nelson. We warmly welcome the family of Private William Albert McColl, whose story will be told shortly. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony around Australia. And this evening, we are particularly pleased to welcome members of the Castle Hill and District RSL sub-branch, who are joining us here today. During the ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family, visitors and students on behalf of the following schools. From New South Wales, Arcadia Vale Public School. From Queensland, Kenmore South State School. And from Western Australia, Living Waters Lutheran School, Warnbro. Please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Boys and girls, please sit. The Australian War Memorial was a vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Private William Albert McColl, my great-uncle. Affectionately known as Willie, William Albert McColl was born on the 3rd of August 1895 in Meredith, Victoria, to John and Mary McColl. He was the last of 9 children. He grew up in Bangani and attended the nearby primary school, and after leaving school worked as a farmer and woodcutter. He enlisted in Geelong on the 1st of October 1914, joining the newly raised 14th Battalion. After several months of training, he embarked from Melbourne on the 22nd of December aboard the transport ship Ulysses. Further training in Egypt followed before the battalion sailed to Lemnos in preparation for the Gallipoli campaign. The 14th Battalion came ashore on Gallipoli on the evening of the 25th of April, and in the following weeks took part in establishing and improving the Australian defensive line. The battalion was involved in holding off the Ottoman counter-attack on the 19th of May, which attempted to drive the Australians into the sea. Ottoman troops broke into the 14 Battalion front line at Courtney's Post, but a one-man attack by Lance Corporal Albert Jacka restored the situation. Jacka would be awarded a Victoria Cross for his actions. On the evening of the 6th of August, the 14th Battalion moved from their positions at Reserve Gully as part of the 4th Brigade's left flank attack on Hill 971. Up on the heights, the battle for Lone Pine, which had commenced at sunset, raged. The going was tough for the 4th Brigade. Poor maps and no prior reconnaissance combined with stiff Ottoman resistance meant progress was slow. Units became lost in the dark in unfamiliar terrain. The following day, with several attacks having failed on the heights and fighting still raging on at Lone Pine and Channock Bear, the 4th Brigade remained in their positions, advancing once again in the evening. Fierce Ottoman counterattacks soon threatened to cut off and annihilate the 14th and 15th Battalions. This was prevented by the timely arrival of the 16th Battalion. At 7:30 a.m. on the morning of the 8th of August, the order was given to retire. As the Australians began making their way back to the new positions at Australia Valley, McColl was shot and killed. He was 20 years old. His remains were unable to be recovered, and his name was added to the Lone Pine Memorial. Trooper William Gillett, McColl's cousin, serving with New Zealand's Otago Mounted Rifles, was killed around the same time as McColl during the action at Channock Bear. His older brother Hugh, my grandfather, enlisted just after McColl's death and was wounded, serving with the 58th Battalion at Fromell, but returned to Australia in early 1917. McColl's name is listed on the Roll of Honour to my right, among more than 60,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private William Albert McColl, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post ceremony. Thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and good evening.